Hello my fellow readers. In this video I just have to talk about Sugar Apple Fairy Tale, which there's going to be a lot of these apparently, and I did not realize this was going to be as long of a series as it is. But for this video I'm going to cover volumes 4 and 5 of the light novel. This covers a big chunk of season 2 of the anime series, so if you have watched that, not too much new happening in these, and I believe volume 6 would wrap up all of what happens in season 2 of the anime. And I'm looking forward to maybe continuing to have both, because I still very much enjoy Sugar Apple Fairy Tale, both the anime and the light novel series. I think they're both really good. The manga, I believe, and what's being released now, there's only like the 3 volumes of it, and then that part of the manga series is done. So the anime is specifically like going from the light novel stories. So in volume 4, I'll read the synopsis and go over a bit of what happens here. Anne has finally attained the title of Silver Sugar Master, but not without paying a price. Shal has sold his freedom to Bridget Page, the daughter of the Page Workshop maestro. Determined to get him back, Anne travels to the Page Workshop and learns they'll return him if she agrees to work for them. But then she's assigned the difficult task of reviving the debt-ridden business, which is close to shutting down. On rescuing Shal, Anne doesn't shy away from the challenge. That was not correct. Set on rescuing Shal, Anne doesn't shy away from the challenge, but with only 5 candy crafters and their faction's long history of set traditions restricting her actions, how will she save the Page Workshop? And that is essentially what happens in this volume. These are very short volumes, so there's not too much I can add to the conversation. This is Anne processing, what happened at the end of the competition, you would say, when she gets to be Silver Sugar Master, and she should be so happy, and then Shal leaves her, and she comes to realize, oh, he's leaving with Bridget, and Bridget has essentially tricked him into providing the information needed to get Anne her sugar, and it was really, okay, I'll give you this, but you have to come and be my fairy. And since really Shal is free to do whatever he wants because he's been freed, he's now enslaved essentially to Bridget. And she's an interesting character. I mean, we do kind of see more of Bridget in this too. Like, Bridget feels very controlled by the men. So I guess in some ways this volume kind of gets into the patriarchal system and its flaws that are in this world. Not only, you know, through Bridget, but also through Anne, because Anne has sort of never realized before how rare it is that her mother and her are silver sugar crafters in general. Like, they don't often allow this for women. And I'd love to know more about her mother's story, because I don't, like, how did that work for her? Because the way that everybody keeps treating Anne is kind of horrible and ridiculous. She's misjudged all the time. She's mistreated all the time because she's a girl and entering this field as a Silver Sugar Master. So there's always a part of her that always has to prove herself and her worth. This volume, yes, still had that, but there was also kind of just difficulties because she's coming in as a Silver Sugar Master into a team that has already been, like, used to working with each other. Of course, they're all also men, but it's more like just that camaraderie is interrupted, and it's like, we've always done things a certain way, and now she's kind of shaking things up a bit and recommending new things. For Bridget, I think, one, she is kind of spoiled and obnoxious, and I think nobody's a huge fan of Bridget. But there is kind of an understanding part of her whole situation, because she wanted to learn to be a Silver Sugar Master, and it was denied to her because she was told that women don't do that. And so, especially seeing Anne and what she's able to do, and how even begrudgingly, like, men are allowing her to do that, she does feel very angry and betrayed. And so I get it. Like, I get her feelings. I understand her, but you don't treat people that way to get what you want, to put it mildly. So again, Anne's whole mission is get Shal free again, and also how do I save the workshop, because the workshop I think in part it's just because of how they have always worked a certain way and always, like, kind of kept to themselves. They're falling short of money. Their main owner, I guess you would say owner, funder, I don't know. I don't understand really how all of the system works, but he has taken ill, and so it's, they're struggling. They're just struggling to get by. They're not going around as much, and because they're not doing as much work, their reputation has also suffered, and so they're getting less jobs. And so really Anne has to develop a plan to get their workshop recognized in order to get more work for them. And she does come up with a plan, and that's the main theme of this. It sort of goes into what happens, not even sort of, it definitely goes into what happens in volume 5. So if you wanted to end like here, you won't get spoilers for what happens next. Again, you can see all of this without reading it if you've watched the anime, like you already know. And there is, I believe he appears in here. There's a background character, and he might have even been in 3. If you remember, and you want to remind me, go ahead. Who comes into play very highly in the next volume, but is in here, like this, that's the person, that's the being that is in the background here, comes in here. So let's get into volume 5. Volume 5 is Failure is Not an Option. The Page Workshop has successfully won the right to provide sugar candy for the first Holy Festival, but the real challenge has only just begun, making all the candy before time runs out. In a stroke of luck, Anne secures a castle with suitable room to serve as their workplace, only to discover upon arrival that it is in ruins and plagued by ghosts. Meanwhile, Bridget turns up on the arm of a beautiful, mysterious fairy, who Shale believes is more than he appears. As problems arise left and right, will Anne and the other candy crafters meet their increasingly impossible deadline? So yes, Volume 5 continues where Volume 4 leaves off. They had entered this competition in here, and it's to provide the sugar decorations for the Holy Festival. And they did these beautiful trees that are snowflakes, and they will illuminate and reflect light. I say illuminate, but it's not like their natural light. They have to have light on them, and then they reflect out the light, and it's beautiful and looks great. But now the hard work begins because they have to make all those trees. So like for the competition, they made a sample of it and had to prove like this is what we would do and how it would look. And now that they've won that, they have to go forward and make it. And so one, they had to find a suitable place to make this that's, I believe, nearby enough to deliver all of the decorations, but 2, there's enough room to make it. And so they end up going to this castle that was essentially seized by the crown however many years ago. It can't be that many years ago, but it was long enough in the grand scheme of things. I feel like I'm going to say like 15 years. I don't know. It could have been more. And they took over for, I guess, I'll say a traitor, but like, I don't know what the full story was there. You know, like, of course the victors are going to say this guy was a traitor, but I don't know who's actually right or wrong in these situations. But essentially that was seized. The man who used to own the castle was imprisoned, and here we are. Now it's being used, rented out to these silver sugar crafters. And yeah, Anne has Shale back. For what it's worth, I mean, again, Shale is Shale and his own being, once again, so that's good. I don't remember why Bridget comes into play, but with her is this fairy who is gorgeous, and Shale is like, oh, he must be an opal because he has like changing colored hair and whatnot, so there's sort of a mistrust there. And in the background of all of this is another little character where they think, one, that the castle is haunted, but then they discover that there was a fairy that was left behind from when the castle was seized. And he's in a precarious state because he had like food and supplies that the master had left to him and told him to watch over the castle. But that has run out, and he's very close now to starving to death because he doesn't want to eat anything that his master wouldn't provide, even though the master told him that when everything had run out, if he had to eat other food, he should leave. I don't think that his owner had intended any harm. I think that they did have a very, really close bond, and that this kind of process, their grief of the fairy, is kind of not allowing him to take care of himself or to leave, even though he knows that his person is never coming back. Like, it's sad. I thought that whole part was sad. And what ends up happening, not going too much into the other fairy that Bridget brought, because I think most of that is actually going to occur in Volume 6. As you would know if you watch the anime, that's what happens. But in this one, it is mostly that they are trying to get everything done for the Holy Day Festival, but where they store their silver sugar has gotten too damp, and so the sugar got wet and it's hardened, and so they need help. It's all very elaborate. So what Anne decides to do is try to ask Kat for help, but Kat won't do it or can't do it without permission or something. I don't remember how that all worked out. Where, what's our friend's name there? The silver sugar head guy there. Viscount? Is he a Viscount? Whatever his name is, I can't remember him now, and I feel so bad. Like, I can see him, but I can't remember his name. Anyway, I don't think he's willing to help unless Anne can defeat him in a challenge of some sort. So Kat says that he won't do it unless Anne defeats Hugh in this competition. And then Hugh can use his request to ask Kat to help out, and then Kat can help. It was so convoluted. That part's convoluted. Like, it's so ridiculous. Kat likes Anne. Like, he would Anyway. Weird curmudgeonly characters. It's ridiculous. Anyway, Hugh and Anne have a competition where they are going to create a silver sugar creation that will make the fairy eat. And if the fairy eats it, whomever's silver sugar creation it will win the competition. And so they go about designing stuff that they think will appeal to him and respect and reflect his previous life and what he would want. And it's good. Anne wins. I won't tell you like the background of how she wins or anything, but Anne wins. Kat comes to help because they have to rush to get the rest of this stuff made in time for the Holy Day Festival. And I don't know. That's about it. Again, there's background stuff going on with the other fairy, but I think the meat of that stuff, although it's always in the background here, the meat of what that storyline entails is mostly in the next one, which is not out yet. I don't know why. I don't know why these are taking a while. I also realize that my book is kind of damaged, and I kind of want to get a new copy of it. I keep fidgeting with it, but this back corner is all messed up. I don't like it. I don't know what happened. My poor light novel. Anyway, I think both of them are good. The story remains good. I'm wondering, because I think I saw that there's like 19 volumes of this light novel series, I'm wondering where the story's going to go. Like, I can actually imagine it going on for a while longer, because there are things that are brought up, and I don't think they were brought up yet, but that I've seen ahead in the anime that do make it seem like there's a big plot point that's probably coming up and will be dealt with in the series in the future. So I do get it. On the other hand, I'm kind of intimidated, I guess, by that size, because it's a lot more than what I own. And so I'm just thinking that's a lot. I will keep reading until either it's no longer published or it no longer brings me joy. And so far I still really like it. I like that there's always this romantic element in the background, even though it's not like totally face forward. You know that there are feelings between Shell and Anne, and they run pretty deep, even though they also kind of keep a boundary up between them that they really care for one another, and they do whatever they can for one another. And there are a lot of great other friendships in here as well. Like, I like Kat. I like a lot of the people that we're more introduced to within these volumes, the new team that Anne is given, and just seeing them and their dedication and devotion. I don't know, I feel like a lot of Sugar Apple Fairy Tale, like, it just has a great surrounding cast. And even the people that aren't good, you still kind of understand and feel for. So I gotta say, it's a great series. I really enjoy it. I still recommend this one to fans of light novels, and especially, again, if you're looking more for the shoujo angle, because there are an awful lot of, like, shonen kind of type stories, and this is more if you like the shoujo angle. This is still a great one, and I enjoy it very, very much. That's it for this video. Until next time, bye.